Oh, it's probably going to do this thing with the library. Yeah, if this goes to different feed, I'll send the link.
I've resigned myself to not understanding how that happens or how to fix it.
That's hysterical.
Okay, I think we are live. Hello, people.
I have
I'm
not
going.
gotten the Zoom. Oh, the meeting's live stream. Yes, I did get it. Got it. We're good.
Okay, so let's should begin with that. Let me send the link to everybody else in that other thing because it keeps duplicating, and that'll be it. So, Phil, you wanted to discuss emergent order, why things look like they are run by a cabal of crazy, evil, stupid men, but they aren't actually. And that's a hard point to make, especially among our crowd, because we so want to believe that there's just one or two or maybe 5 or 10 different groups of people, that if we just replace them with better people, then everything will be fine. It's the same argument as saying, well, the problem isn't the Fed. The problem is Powell or Yellen or
Right.
Greenspan or even Volcker or whatever. And if we have all these institutions staffed with the right people, then it'll be fine. As if, everything that collapsed in the COVID era from all the crazy, let's not speak of it, but the shenanigans that happened there, it would have been fine had a better bureaucrat headed the FDA or a better bureaucrat headed the NIH. And if all these things were headed by moral people, it would have been fine. And that's what it used to be like in the 20s, 30s, 40s. It was better. And now it's worse because there's worse people. Why is that just a story we tell ourselves? It's not the truth. And if that is not the truth, then what is the truth? And how do we get out of this?
Sure. So I actually, this is something I can speak eloquently on. Finally, we pulled me on and got me to something that I can speak on.
All right.
I studied emergent order quite a bit in college, and the way to conceptualize emergent order, at least the way I'm going to try and explain emergent order, is that it's there doesn't have to be anyone or anything in charge for orders to just assemble themselves. And you can't even really detect the order until after it's been created, so you can't predict it. So in a real world example would be if you go to New York City, you got the flower district, right? In New York, where in Manhattan, there's this row of street. There's a street where it's like flower shop, flower shop, flower shop, flower shop, flower shop, and everyone's like, why? Like, it would make way more sense to spread these out over the whole city, right? Put one in Queens and one in Brooklyn and one in Staten Island and one in Manhattan, right? Why are there 15, 20 flower shops all in one street? And how is this working? And the way it works is whoever opened the first one or two flower shops, that they became known for their flowers. People started coming there, so copycat stores started showing up, on one block over, or a few shops over, right? And this neighborhood.
Wait, Phil, can you confirm that we're still live?
Yeah, I see we're still live.
Yeah. Okay. Because it says here waiting for the other one says private. Okay.
Well, I see chats, and I see
okay, for whatever reason, I don't see the chats, but you can handle the chats for today, and that'll be fine.
Okay, I'll just tell you. I'll tell you the questions, and you can tell me other questions.
Okay. Anyway, you were saying.
Okay, so the flower shops are all right next to each other, and that area became known as the flower district. So that's where people go to buy flowers, and that it was almost like a positive feedback loop, right? The more people go there to buy flowers, the more incentive there is to set up another flower shop to participate in the demand, right? Or to provide supply for the demand for the flowers. So as a result, this emerged that, I don't remember the street was, let's say it's 52nd Street, right? 52nd Street became known as the flower district, and that's where everyone goes. Now, there was no, the mayor didn't say, let's zone this for flowers. There wasn't a cabal of Rothschilds that we're going to put the flower shops here. It just happened, and it evolved that way. And there's the Diamond District, there's the Flower District. There's two chess shops. They're the only two chess shops in New York City where it's 100% everything about chess boards, chess rules, chess mats. They're right next to each other.
There's only two of them in all of New York City?
all of New York City, there's two 100% dedicated shops to chess, and they have, very fancy chess boards, very fancy chess pieces,
Right.
whatever services and goods that are related to chess
Right.
are in those two shops, and they're right next to each other. And it just emerged this way. If you want a chess piece, this is the shop you go to get your chess pieces repaired or whatever chess related services or goods you need. And these things just emerge, and it's almost like, if you think, another way to think of it would be like a beehive, right? The queen is not ordering anything. She's just an egg laying factory. She's not in charge of anything. And the bees themselves, there's a few, she lays the eggs, and there's a few lucky bastard males who get to like just mate with her all day, and that's their sole job in life. And then the rest have these instructions to go, make the hexagonal honeycombs, go out, get the honey, get the nectar, come back, process it into honey, care for the young, right? And nobody's ordering these bees to do anything. They have these very simple instructions, but this complex system develops around it, So that's emergent order. That is what emergent order is. And the way to think of it in the financial system, the way I'm thinking about it anyway, is once this ball got rolling, right? Once the banks in the 1870s, once the banks started saying, "Oh, we loaned out too much, we can't fulfill these," and they started going bankrupt, and then J.P. Morgan bailed them out. That grew the snowball, and then he said, "I can't bail these people out anymore. I need the Federal Reserve. We need to create a central bank that's going to bail these people out." So that got the snowball bigger, and then they said, "Uh-oh." Then the 1929 crash, and then the government said, "Okay, we can't have this anymore. We're gonna lock up the gold and only let people trade in the notes for gold." And that made the snowball bigger, right? And they weren't. You could think of it's like there's like a Rothschild puppeteer behind the president, saying, we're gonna control the gold, and we're just gonna make the people. But really, it's just the president was looking at his reelection. At least I think. I mean, I guess it's always possible there are Rothschilds controlling everything, but the president is looking at his reelection, and he doesn't want the economy to crash during reelection. And these guys say, well, if we inflate the money supply and print notes we don't have, then we can stop it. And he goes, okay, let's stop the crash, and we'll deal with it later after my reelection bit, right? And
that's what everyone says. Yeah,
that's what everyone says, right? And there's no way to deal with it later except to go through the crash. So it just builds and builds and builds, and any of these people at any time can stop the train. The problem is that the snowball is so big now that it went from a major crash to something possibly cataclysmic. And nobody wants to be the one in charge of that, right? Jerome Powell doesn't want to be the guy that's known throughout history as the one who stopped the party, right? The presidents, none of the presidents, not Trump, not Biden, not anyone else, wants to be the guy that stops the party, because when you stop the party, that's when the bill comes, and it's a big one. So there's not, and the Rothschilds want to live in a civilized world too, I'm assuming. I don't think they want to destroy the entire. Just destroy civilization and rebuild it in their images, with us going back to the Stone Age and building temples to them as gods among men. I'm assuming, right, that's not
once you're involved in a banker society and a banker family like that, you're kind of forced into a certain direction where you can't stop it.
Yeah.
What's in control of what anymore? I mean, this bothers me personally, not like in a serious way. I understand, because people think that some people, I guess, that follow me or that have heard of me think I'm involved in some kind of Jewish cabal. And the word cabal comes from Hebrew, from Kabbalah, from like this mysticism stuff. So it really looks bad. But then I have to like assure people I have nothing to do with any of this. And I'm just, and it just happens to be that, just like how did the Satmar Hasidim, how did they get involved in the diamond industry? Well, I don't know. Somebody started it, and then they brought in their friends, and then they brought in their friends and family, and they all happened to hang up the same, people who wear the same stuff, who have the same religion. So they all just brought in their That's why there's certain political families like the Kennedys or the Clintons, and some of them are good, and some of them are less good, and some of them are really bad. But and the Bushes, I mean, because people bring their friends into their industry, and it just happens to be that Jews were good with money, and there's nothing else I can really say about it. So it just it really it looks bad, but that's what it is.
The way, maybe the original Rothschilds were incredibly shrewd, but if you look at like family dynasties, like I would imagine the modern Rothschilds, probably have a Habsburg jaw and diminished mental capacity. These families always decay, right? Because they always,
I couldn't even name you a single Rothschild. I don't know
I
who
can't
they
either.
are. I
Yeah,
don't know where they live. It's just like this like name that's like a bad word for banker. It's not
right.
even a
Yeah,
people anymore. I don't
if
even know
I
what
mean,
it is.
I'm sure there's some dynastic wealth, but like I don't think they're all as shrewd. And it's not possible for them all to be as shrewd as the original Rothschilds, and just as cunning, especially growing up, with that amount of wealth. There's a certain decadence sets in. So I don't see how that's going to happen. Um,
Yeah.
but the point is, even if they are, like, there doesn't have to be a cabal for this cabal-like situation to be in front of itself. The order just emerged.
Mhm. Right. So I want to bring the example of the World Economic Forum, right? People think that's at the center of everything. And hold on, I'm just checking my microphone here to make sure it's the right one. Oh, it's not. Okay, my sound might not be coming in so well. Let's see if I plug it in
You're coming in
again.
fine to me. I hear you fine.
Okay. I'm gonna play around with this until it either works or doesn't.
Yeah.
There it goes. Okay, I think it's on the right one
No,
now.
now you're worse.
Now it's worse.
That's worse.
Oh man. Okay. Well, it's on the right one now. It's on the one that I usually use. Um. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about the World Economic Forum for a second. Is it audible? Like, is it okay?
I'm turning the volume way up, but
Oh, man. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me try to change it to. Let's see. Is this one better?
say it again.
Is it better?
No,
No. Okay.
I don't know what you did. Was okay before. Yeah, people are saying it was better before.
Okay, what about now?
Better, a little bit better.
Okay, so we'll just stick with this one. So
Too low. Yeah.
So the World Economic Forum, it looks like it's at the center of everything because this guy Klaus Schwab was able to put his people into different governments, and this is true, and is able to, through his local leader, or what is it called when they take these young people and they put them in the and they put them through the World Economic Forum.
Oh, it's like the Future Leaders Academy or something. I know
whatever it is. So he has this conference in Davos every year, and he's able to get more and more people in governments. And then people think that it's the World Economic Forum that's in charge of all this stuff, but but it's not really that. It's the power structure of the world that is responsible for forming the World Economic Forum. It's not the other way around, right? Because once you have governments that are powerful enough and they have these globalist organizations like the United Nations or the League of Nations or whatever it is, and then they have a more centralized power structure, and then you have the EU coming together, and you have what do they call the
Hey, Rafi, everyone's complaining about your volume right now.
oh crap. Okay. So let me what happens. Is this better?
Yeah, way better. Way better.
Okay.
Back to normal.
Fine.
All right.
Okay.
World Economic Forum in charge. Go ahead.
Okay. It's really the ability, the power centers of government that creates the World Economic Forum. It's not the World Economic Forum that creates government power, right? Because once these governments get so powerful by inflating, which means that they can amass resources to themselves, then it becomes an incentive for people like Klaus Schwab to create these organizations where they put people in respective governments to try to take them over and unify everything. But again, they sit at the top of the pyramid, so when it falls over, they're the ones that are going to fall hardest. And even if they have gold and silver, fine. If they have gold and silver, fine, but they'd still have to spend it in order to amass more wealth. And by spending it, they will make other people richer. Whereas, by spending fiat money, they're making other people poorer because they raise prices by doing that. So it doesn't matter how rich they are. What matters is that once they can no longer do this, then all the organizations fall. The FDA, the NIH, the WEF, the World Bank, whoever is in charge of whatever aspect of this, they all fall at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And they can't. It's not. It's the important thing is that people think, oh, they're just going to move us to CBD. There's a whole thing. Oh, they're just going to keep it going by moving us to CBDCs or enslaving us further. The people have an option to reject the currency, and they must at some point, because the current currency is not money unless it's backed by money or made of money. So they can't just force you onto a CBDC. It's not going to work. Now, what do you think? They're like the people on the World Economic Forum. They feel like they're in charge, and they seem to think they are in charge as well. So they're like feeding into the stereotype of like we're manipulating everything. We are omniscient, omnipotent. Resistance is futile. You might as well just accept our new global order. You're gonna own nothing and be happy. But I think they're in for just as nasty of a shock as everybody else when the mobs with pitchforks come out.
Nastier, I think, but there's a lot less of them than there are. There are a lot fewer of them than there are of us. I want to go back to your analogy of a queen bee, right, in a hive or ants.
Sure. Hold on,
Right?
the super chats are disappearing. I just want to get to them real
Okay.
quick.
Okay.
So Christopher Resmini says, can you guys put together a class that will teach how to deploy our metals in the end game? That can be a topic for next week, sure. And then Indy says, $20 super chat. Thanks, Rafi and Phil. Hi, fellow chatters. Peace, peace, peace. Okay.
Oh, peace to you too. Peace to everyone. So I wanted to get back to your analogy of a hive mind, and you gave a Star Trek reference. Resistance is futile. Borg is like the Star Trek equivalent of a colony of bees, right? Because there's no individual there. So they have this like a sort of hive mentality in them, and they think they're in charge, but they're not. But really, hyperinflation is when we it's not a decision by any one person. It is a hive defense mechanism when the real hive, which is us, acts against this virus that is infecting us, which is them, and cleans it out. So hyperinflation is really it's a hive decision by all the worker bees to like get rid of their honey or as fast as possible, or to consume all their honey. Like, when beekeepers, when they harvest their honey, what they do is they blow smoke throughout the whole colony so that all the bees fall asleep and they all, it's the same thing as that Star Trek episode with the with the best of both worlds, right? Sleep data, sleep. He puts them to sleep and then they self-destruct. I never thought of that before, but that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the hive mind of humanity dumping the currency and going back to money, and that just ends it all. There's no further slavery after that. There's chaos, yeah, but it's not an organized slavery. There's going to be disorganized slavery for sure, and our job is to prevent that, or at least have our slaves be very well treated and very well paid.
Another back to the beehive real quick. Sometimes a new queen will enter the hive, and so the current queen and the new queen both start releasing regal pheromones. I'm your queen, worship me, right? And whoever's better at that, the other one gets destroyed by the hive, and the new either the new monarch or the current monarch is reigns supreme. So it's the same. Once again, it's the same thing. It's like a hive decision. Mm-hmm. And it probably, I'm not a bee, and I don't really know how bees work, but it probably happens like very quick. There's some sort of like thing that happened. There's a catalyst, and then the bees like descend and tear down the old monarch and raise up the new one. Probably something very similar could happen here. Where one person is just tired and hungry and sick of it all, and starts a riot, and it turns into something bigger.
I think we're already starting to see that happen.
Yes,
and it's happening fast. We're seeing, like, I don't know if Milei is going to succeed. I kind of think he's going to fail. I don't wish him failure. He seems like a good guy, and I want him to succeed. I don't even know what really success would look like so much, because Argentina is so messed up that anything could be turned to success, because how could it get any worse there? But you have Milei on one end, and then there's this other guy, Geert Wilders, in the Netherlands. And it looks like Justin Trudeau's in big trouble, and Biden's on his way out.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other hot spots, but the Netherlands and Argentina is enough to like, okay, here's a trend change. These queens are
Yeah.
starting to change over. And you made a point that I want to talk about for a minute, that you said to me, it doesn't politics is not going to save us, but it's still important who is in charge at the moment of the end game, because that's going to
Yes.
matter. So how do you differentiate those two statements, that politics isn't going to save us, but still it matters who's in charge?
Right. Well, I mean, the must happen. Doesn't seem like it can be delayed any further. And if it does delay, it just means a worse crash further on. But there are two reactions to this crash. The one reaction could be, okay, let's go back to minting gold coins and let people decide how they're going to, go back to private money, essentially. Like the state, I can make a $20 gold piece and a $1 silver piece, just like we used to. And the state can the people can go to banks, and banks will release banknotes, and we'll go back to this very free system. Or the state could say, all right, I want your necklaces, we want your gold teeth fillings, we want give it. We're gonna put it in our bank and reissue notes and get this party started again. So who's in charge is really going to affect that. Now I would say the second scenario is probably a lot more likely. Even if reform candidates get in, I'm not hearing Milei talking about going back to gold. I hear him talking about going to the dollar. I'm not hearing Trump talk about sound money. So I'm worried that they are going to the central bank trick is, the way they work is they look completely unemotional, detached. We're not partisan. We're not political entities. We are here solely to keep the monetary system, working no matter who's in charge, right? That's their mantra, right? That's the way they present themselves.
Right.
So
They call it independent.
yeah, we're
Bank.
independent. We don't even have sex. We are asexual, irreligious automatons who are merely there to purify the monetary system, right?
Well, that's
So
exactly what the Catholic priesthood was.
yeah.
I mean, but they weren't. But okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm worried the president is going to go to them as the experts and say, whoever the president is in whatever country, and say, okay, you guys, you seem very smart. What do we do? Right. And they'll say, well, we need to repeg our currency to go, because we developed this pure currency, independent of any previous monies, right? We developed this pure money, but the people ruined it with their greed and avarice. So to get them to understand how pure our money is, we have to go back to something that these savages understand, like gold, and then we can purify our money again, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not really worried about that, because I
Do you
see.
think it'll collapse so much that there won't even be an appetite for central banking?
I don't think they're going to have any credibility. I mean,
You'd be
who would
I don't know.
who would believe anything? Even now they don't have. It's just inertia that's keeping them going. I don't think anyone really respects them except the talking heads on TV, and nobody respects them.
Yeah,
unless I'm living in a complete bubble and I'm just not aware. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you're living in something of a bubble there. I would think most people. I mean, most people aren't paying attention. They don't understand. I spent a year dedicating myself to understanding the system, right? So most people aren't going to do that. They're just like, well, I don't know. The dollar works. These people seem smart. They say they have everything under control. I got my life to live. So, hopefully they're right. And when it crashes, they're going to say, oh, they're going to have all these Keynesian terms, the Phillips curve inverted. I don't know. They're going to come up with all this ridiculous techno babble. It's going to sound like an episode of Star Trek. They're going to show all these fancy curves, and they're going to say the CPI, we mismeasured it, we miscalculated it. The people had irrational exuberance, and the animal spirits took over, and we lost everything. So as a result, we need more control so that we can stop these animal spirits from rising in the future, and save the system, right?
So are you saying that you acknowledge that gold will go to infinity or whatever the number is, and then the central bank its only move for survival will be, okay, fine, we'll repeg to gold, but as long as we are in control of everything.
Yeah, that's what I think they're going to try. I don't know if it'll be successful or not.
But that's exactly what FDR did. He's like, we'll repeg to gold as long as I have all the gold.
Right.
right? But they would have to collect it all, or they would have to repeg from one to, let's say, 35,000 to one, and then everybody loses everything, and then everyone's destitute. And how do they maintain their power when the entire
Well,
thing just upends
assuming
itself?
yeah, I mean, assuming Fort Knox is empty or near empty, right? I don't believe the 8,300 tons are there. I think they're going to say first they're going to seize all the vaults that they can, and then they might even go after. They'll say gold is illegal to own except for jewelry or whatever. If you're caught with it, stiff fines, jail time. Turn it, do your due diligence now, or your duty as a citizen now. Take your gold to the banks, and they'll know what to do with it. They'll send it up to us. We'll put it back into Fort Knox, and we will caretake the country as before.
Yeah,
Right?
I'll tell you why
You
why
could
I don't think
say,
that's
what
going to
would you do with the
happen.
gold that was already in there, right? The
Uh-huh.
gold we trust you with in the first time is gone. So what'd you do with it? And people can say that, but most people don't have any metals, or at least very small amounts of it. So they're going to say, the vast majority of people are going to say, oh, it's those hoarders who caused the problem, right? It's always the hoarders, right? It's always the hoarders who, even though we're the saviors of civilization, they're going to say, oh, we were the greedy ones who, stole gold, basically.
Okay, well, what they say about us, I don't really care. I care about what they do.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't think it's going to happen that way is that FDR could pull that off, and you could say, "Give me your gold, and I'll give you dollars." But why would people fall for that? Because they wanted dollars, and they knew they could spend dollars, and he was
Hmm.
trying to strengthen the dollar by taking the gold and giving people cash, which they needed anyway, because we were in a
Yeah.
deflationary panic, right? So he was working with the current at that time. But in a hyperinflationary crash, people Dafka don't want dollars. So if the government is going to collect gold, what are they going to offer people in return for it? It can't just be fear. FDR was able to offer $21 an ounce, so that's a good
Why
deal.
can't it just be fear? I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be fear. Like, I don't think they have to come kick down the door. What they're going to say is gold is illegal to trade in, and maybe offer some sort of reward if you call it in.
Yes, but think a little bit deeper into the pipes of the system. How are they going to get their thugs to comply with their orders to collect people's gold? They'll have to pay them with something. They
Well, they
won't
can pay
be
him
able
with a
to use
cut.
dollars.
They can pay him with a cut of the proceeds. That's what the Romans did. So the Romans, the way tax collection worked in ancient Rome was you bid on the opportunity to collect tax in an area.
Yeah.
And so you would actually pay the state, and then you and your knuckle breakers would go and collect the tax, and you had to collect more tax than you paid to get the bid.
Right, yeah. So
So
if that's what it has to go back to a feudal system of tax collection,
yeah,
which it might, then what would happen is that who has most of the gold? I mean, okay, so first, just a quick practical thing here. Don't put your gold in the safety deposit box of a big commercial bank. All right, don't do that. There was a question by one of the super chats, a practical guide on how to deploy your gold. Don't put it in a freaking bank, okay? Because they're going to be the first ones to take it and send it to the central bank, or just not let you open your safety deposit box, or say, oh, you can't open your safety deposit box except once a year or once every 6 months or something. Whatever, they'll make it impossible. Don't do it. So the people who wisely, let's say, put their gold or silver in a dirty man safe somewhere outside in the wilderness with a topographical map or something.
link in the
Um,
description.
yeah. It's not in the description, but dirty man safe, use the code endgame10, etc., etc. That they would be the hardest to collect from. And so they would be the ones to remain with, and also they're much more likely armed than people without any gold or silver. The people
Yeah,
with guns are more likely to have gold and silver. So what I'm saying is, I don't think it's avoidable for the central banking cabal to lose their power to the stackers, because a transfer of purchasing power is a transfer of power, and by the operation of the hive mind, it doesn't matter
yeah,
what they say about us. They could blame us for whatever they want. They could call us inhuman bastards who stole all the world's wealth, but still, they'll need it. So we'll be able to reorganize society even while they're kicking and screaming.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just like the queen, right? Just like the queen bees. The state's going to say, okay, give us all the money, and then the stackers are going to say no, and then emergent order. I don't know. We'll see which order emerges. I don't know. I'm just saying it's in my mind, it is technically possible. It is a physical possibility for the state to pull another FDR situation. Now they're going to have to in the 20s. Everyone had a little gold. Now now only the some stackers and the very rich. So they would have to get the gold from the mega donors. Like it would have to be the mega rich who contribute a lot. I don't think even the stackers only have some small percent compared to something like the Comex, which actually would tie us nicely into our next topic.
Right.
Hold on. Do we want to go? Let's do some super chats or chat questions if we want. Does anyone have any questions for us or comments?
Yeah.
Give it a minute because we're a couple minutes behind everybody else. Or sorry, our talk is a couple minutes ahead of what's presented on YouTube. Your description of honeybee drones and queens is not quite right. Check your facts before making analogies like that. I'm sorry. I apologize. I offended a beekeeper.
Okay. You don't want to offend those beekeepers. That's just the wrong way to go.
They will target the ETFs. Yeah, I think they will go for the large gold deposits first if they go that route. Mm-hmm. Now the question is the Comex. I think it was Comex, or maybe it was LBMA had some of their nickel deposits turned out to be like bags of dirt or something. So the gold may not be there.
Bags of rocks.
We'll get into that.
It was bags of rocks, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, bags of rocks, right? Confiscation scares me. Yeah, it scares me too. But you can do things about that. It's the same thing as if you're scared about theft, if you're scared about a robber coming into your house and rummaging through your stuff and stealing stuff, it's the same thing as confiscation. The only difference with the confiscation is that it's going to be 50 cops and no one's going to be able to stop them. So it's going to be worse. Mm-hmm. ETFs will be toasted oats. Yep. Junk silver, SLV being drained. Do you have anything to say about SLV being drained?
Let's take a look at it. I haven't looked in a few days.
Sure. While you're typing that out, Rafi, Farber, and Phil, did you read the book The Great Taking? And what do you think about the info? We've covered that several times.
Yeah, Phil did read it. I've skimmed through it. Don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think
because the basic answer was that the theft has already happened. The Great Taking already happened, and what we have left is just the shell of it, basically.
Yeah. I agree exactly. The way to think about it is what is a Ford stock worth? What's the stock of Ford Motor Company worth if everyone's too poor to buy a truck, right? Or a car, right? So if the Great Taking happens and they take everyone's savings, then no one can buy anything. And if no one can buy anything, then the stock that they have taken is worthless. The companies are worthless, right? So, you're not stealing anything of value. The theft has already occurred through the inflation. Excuse me.
Okay, so if anyone wants to see, I'll share the screen here on the SLV.
Born to Rent says they will sell gold buyers addresses to gold bounty hunters. Yeah, they might. You just don't keep the gold at the address.
So here's SLV. When people say SLV is being drained, it's sort of true. It's also sort of not true. So SLV here, the blue is the price of SLV, or the price of silver loosely, and the black is the amount of silver in the SLV ETF. And yes, it has gone down from about 21,000 tons at Silver Squeeze to what's that number, to 13,690 tons now. So yeah, that's like it's a third. It's been drained by a third, and that's fine. That's good, or I don't even know if it's good. It is what it is. But it's still higher than at any point it was before 2020, before the lockdowns. So there's that. And most of that most of that silver is in London, actually, and only a fraction of it is in New York.
Now, is some of this hypothetical silver, or is that all real silver in there?
It's hypothetically real silver. Do I know if it's actually there? No. Hypothetically, it's real silver.
Okay, so
Uh,
during the in game when they open the vault and they say, okay, we need to see how much is actually in here. So that chart could that chart could like plummet down to something much smaller. If
It
they're like,
could.
oh,
They
it
have
turns
a
out,
list. They have a list of bars with like serial numbers on them,
yeah,
and
okay,
they're supposedly all there. But the question is like, how many people really have claim to each of those bars?
right.
And we don't know because if they double sell or they double book one of them, we can't prove it, or it would have to take some kind of crazy-eyed guy who's like really into this stuff, like, oh, look at that serial number over there, look at the serial number over there, it's the same ETF, and then he'd get like a few thousand views on YouTube, and then all the gold and silver folks are like, look at that, and we were like, what are these people talking about? And then nobody would care.
By the way, if the let's say the gold confiscations happen, if they outlaw jewelry, if they're like no one's allowed to wear jewelry and people put up with that, then yeah, we're in a really bad place. If they just say you're not allowed to own bullion, then what you do is you take it to a jeweler and have it either you have it convert him into a necklace for you, or you just sell him the bullion for once the currency gets reestablished, you sell the bullion for the currency and go buy the thing you wanted to buy with it. Those are options, available options. So find a jeweler you trust and test out an ounce first before you don't show up with your your shoebox full of your life savings in gold, because then you might just call the cops and get it all confiscated. Start with an ounce, find a jeweler you trust, talk to him beforehand, get it all certified.
Yeah, it's like if you're a drug dealer and you've sold a lot of coke or something, you'll have some experience with this. You don't want to sell all at one time; you're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah,
Not that I've ever been a
exactly.
coke dealer, but I saw True
There are
Romance. I know
emergent
how it
order,
works.
there are things you can do. Now, if all the jewelers get confiscated, if it gets really draconian and no one does anything, I don't know. But I will say this, if gold becomes illegal, the black market value of gold absolutely skyrockets. So you get a lot more bang for, you might want to consider that as not necessarily a bad thing, because the value of your gold skyrockets.
Mhm.
There's other things you can, if let's say they get rid of cash and only go to CBDCs, and they're trying to build a gold backed CBDC, so it's gold backed and they can't inflate it. However, they do get all the social control over you, where they can say, all right, you can't buy beef, more than this amount, per week, and we want you to eat bugs and all that kind of stuff. There's always silver. You can turn your gold into silver and then go do the silver for the retail transactions.
Yeah, that's why I've never been a fan so much of gold-backed cryptocurrencies, even though theoretically they could work if they were private. Uh, they're not going to be private because the government is going to take control of them, or at least regulate them to give it all the information about where all these tokens are going and who, so that everyone who uses them pays taxes, and everything's going to be trackable. Like, do you want the physical gold gives you perfect anonymity, whereas a gold backed blockchain gives you 100% trackability or traceability. So I was never really turned on by any of this stuff. I guess theoretically it could work if we were in a perfect world. We'd rather use blockchains, but I'd rather use paper personally
Yeah,
than a blockchain. I think paper's fine.
we'll just have both. Have
Or both.
let the market emerge, right? And there might be things that we
Yeah.
aren't even thinking of yet that will emerge. There's going to be a lot of creativity in this collapse, so maybe
Mhm.
some things that will emerge that we haven't even considered yet. That's the
Yes.
thing about emergent order. Like, you can't predict where the flower district is going to set up, or even that there will be a flower district. It's just once the flower district is there, you say, oh, well, that's how that happened, right?
Right.
So let's see. Funked.org says there's always money in the banana stand. I like that.
Okay. Noted.
That's from Arrested Development. I don't know if you watched that show.
Oh, there is. Okay. I did watch that. I'm not familiar with that line though. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I just like deflated everything. I'm very deflationary today.
Lynette Zhang says the new cash will have a microchip in it, so you can't hold it; it will depreciate. Heard about this new cash for years. I don't know.
I don't think that the government has to make any technological moves that would increase the rate of purchasing power loss. I think
Yeah,
that will happen by itself.
if you really want the people to hyperinflate the currency immediately, the best way to do that is to
Put chips
program
on
it
it.
to degrade faster.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, then people really will get rid of the currency quickly. So yeah, I don't think Lynette has thought that through to the next steps, the next order.
Mhm.
She's on our side. she sells, I believe she sells pre-33 gold, which is a little more expensive. Her reasoning is that they're less likely to confiscate it. I'm skeptical of that reasoning, so I
Yeah.
think she's selling an expensive version of gold. But if that makes you more comfortable, I mean, to anyone who's potentially buying, go for it. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with anybody selling it as long as they tell you what it is and that its premiums are higher. And if they give you a reason that you like, do it. But I'm not so
Yeah,
worried. If they want to confiscate gold, they're going to confiscate it all. It doesn't matter what year it's from.
yeah. I really don't think. Not to mention, if they don't, then it'd be pretty easy to get a private stamp. You could get a coin. You could take real gold, get it stamped to look just like pre-33 gold. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if they're gonna be able to stop that. Unless they'd have to get a real coinologist. What are those called? The coin
Numismatologist?
numismat. Yeah, they're gonna have to get real numismatists to get there to see is that
Numismatist.
actually. But yeah, for transactions, I think there's easy ways. There's easy ways around gold limitations if they institute it, and maybe I'll chat about it on whatever survives on YouTube. I don't know.
So the last week somebody wanted us to discuss LBMA and COMEX.
That's right. Yes, that's the next topic. So someone asked us, yeah, please do an LBA COMEX thing for dummies. I am an LBA COMEX dummy already, so I will have to pass. I'll ask you some questions, but I gotta pass over the answers to you.
Okay, so look, it's not that again, this is a question of emergent order. It's not that somebody in London decided, well, let's control all the entire monetary system. So we're going to set up this thing called the LBMA in London, and then we're going to be able to inflate over that, and it's going to be great. It wasn't set up like that. It was London was the core of the British Empire, and really the United States is just like Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire was an extension of the Roman Empire, or the vestige of the Roman Empire that extended to the east after the West collapsed. So the United States was an extension of the Phil, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I just went off video a second.
Okay. You have to like scratch your armpit or something? Anyway. So just as the Eastern Roman Empire was really the Byzantine Empire, which lasted until 1453 after the Western Empire collapsed and Rome split after that. So the United States is really just the very Western British Empire. I mean, it broke off from Britain and speaks English and culturally similar. So really what I'm saying is COMEX is really just the LBMA. It's the same thing, just in a different location, because the British Empire was able to amass gold and silver for centuries, not just decades. The New York has only been able to amass it for, let's say, a century, maybe a little bit more, and so London just has a lot more of it. When the LBMA, I looked up briefly in the history, it's just a conglomeration of three or four different gold and silver companies that sort of came together. And interesting, when they started their price fixing scheme, I'm not using the word scheme in a bad way. I'm just using it in the British sense. Like they set up a program to fix, a plan to fix the price. They started that in 1919, and 1919 was a very deflationary year, right? It was right after World War I, and they were that was the year where a $1 silver coin or silver dollar was worth more than a $1 gold coin, because silver was so overvalued at that time because of because people were going back to silver because the paper wasn't working, right after the post World War I inflation. So that's really when the price fixing scheme started. So it goes back to there. And New York was really a backwater at that point. New York didn't get really big until after World War II, when the final collapse of the British Empire. So LBMA has a lot more gold and silver than COMEX does, and the ETFs are almost all of their backing is in London. It's not in New York. So SLV, I think like 75-80% of it, something like that, is in London. And all the other ETFs, the gold GLD, it's almost all there. So, I mean, I focus on the COMEX not because I think it's primary, but because I can navigate it better and I understand it better. But they're connected at the hip. Once the COMEX falls, it's a proxy for the LBMA because they're the same group of people, right? It's the same banks that are operating with two different vaults. That's all it is. So whatever happens with the COMEX is going to happen with the LBMA. And remember that gold and silver futures were never traded until 1974. It's a relatively new thing.
Right. Yeah. You can't
Right?
trade. Yeah. You can't trade the thing of it itself. Yeah.
So it's only been 74 was 49 years ago. So we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Gold and Silver Futures Exchange in New York, and
So
London
the
followed it.
physical vaults are in London and New York, right? I mean, there is a physical vault in those places that holds the gold and silver. At least
There are a few of them, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would imagine the governments probably would seize them in the kind of in-game scenario we're talking about.
Yeah, they practically already own them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying, I don't think it's a good idea to own a bunch of COMEX gold.
Right. Even if you have physical gold in one of the COMEX vaults, it's going to be seized anyway.
Yeah.
So you want to get it out of there and put it in a dirty man safe, probably.
Now, link in the description. Now, why did the COMEX make it so difficult for like normal people to participate?
Because
you did a whole thing where you tried to buy a contract, and it was like you said it was like pulling teeth or something. It was a nightmare, and you didn't even get it.
It was more of a circus than a nightmare. It would be a nightmare if like I depended on it for my living or something.
But you needed it, yeah.
Yeah. So it was really stupid. I think I just used the wrong brokerage. If you want to actually take physical delivery of a contract, you would have to use I forgot the name of the brokerage, but it's not Interactive Brokers. It's something else. I know
they do. Okay, so the brokers they do allow the silver to leave the vaults, right? Like somebody can get their hands in, just you can't. Like, or it's right. Very hard for someone like you to get it. You have to be Elon Musk or somebody who needs enormous amounts of silver for their industry or whatever.
You've got to be a bank.
A bank, okay.
Yeah. It's possible. I know people who have done it. But the thing is, if you do it systematically, somebody's going to stop you.
Is it cheaper if you get it directly from them than buying retail?
Yeah, it's the cheapest you can get because that sets the spot price.
Oh, okay.
Right? There's no premium.
I saw Vince Lancey had a giant brick that looked like an ingot from one of those vaults. I wonder if he got it there.
Yeah, I know there are some people doing it. It's not impossible. It's just a pain. And if it was anything more than a nuisance for these banks to handle it, they would stop it. It would be stopped in some way. They'd make some excuse or something.
Yeah. If the effort you have to put in makes it more expensive though. So I would wonder if it's actually that much cheaper given the hoops you got to jump through.
Yeah, I would say though, once you figure it out and once you have the path laid out, you just repeat it, and then
that's true. Once you get the connections, yeah. You just can't knock on the door and say, "Hey, I want the silver," because they're like, "Who are you, peasant?"
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say something else about COMEX. Look, what I'm focusing now on COMEX is two things, and this is actually going to be relevant in the next 2 or 3 days. So if you're a COMEX watcher, it's going to be very interesting the next 2 or 3 days because we have delivery on gold, silver, and palladium all on November 29th. So that's Wednesday, right? So at the end of the day Wednesday, gold. It's not going to be so interesting because there's still so much gold in the COMEX from the 2020 lockdowns when gold just flooded New York, and I still don't understand exactly what happened there, but that's supposedly what happened. But silver is going to be interesting because the supply of registered silver is extremely low, right? A lot of the silver that's there belongs to SLV, 103 million ounces stored at JP Morgan. And there's some registered supply, and it's been draining since Silver Squeeze, and there's something like for this point in the month of an active delivery month, I think it's the second most contracts that remain open at this point in the month ever, and the most that have ever been delivered was in July 2020, and think that was a case of like one bank to another. So we'll see who owns the longs this time. The What's even more interesting than silver on the COMEX right now is palladium. And I'm not a palladium expert. I don't really understand the market. I don't know what moves it. It's a very scary metal. I'd like one coin just for fun. I don't recommend trading it. I own some palladium ETF just for, to see if I could capitalize on some kind of squeeze that might happen. But with palladium, what's going on is that the commercials, the palladium producers are long, and the speculators are short. And if the palladium producers are long, that means that they think the price of palladium is way too low. And right now, they're the commercial longs, they can hold for delivery if they want to, right? They have the clout. They if no one's going to deny them physical delivery if they demand it. And at this point in the month, this is the most palladium contracts that have remained open this far, this close to a delivery month, which is November 29th, 3 days from now, than have ever been remained open at this point in the delivery cycle. So I've always guessed that the end game would start on the edges of the metals, like maybe platinum, palladium. Maybe I'm wrong about that. It's just like a feeling that I had, and palladium really is at the edge of precious metals because it's sort of a money, it's sort of not. It's like it's a new metal. Like we haven't really used it for anything, until like 100 years ago. So we'll see what happens to it. It's going to be very interesting, palladium, the next few days, and Wednesday is going to be a big day. I'm pretty excited for it, but it's probably just going to roll over and up with nothing again.
Commodity squeezes would be a symptom of what we're discussing. Yeah, it's sort of the end game.
Yeah, well, they're all linked. They're all linked by the dollar. So what happened on March 2022 with nickel, I wasn't expecting it to happen with nickel, but that's the same situation that everyone's in with every metal. There's always somebody with a huge short position for fractional reserve reasons that is going to get squeezed, and then it's going to cause a domino because that's how the whole system is set up.
Yeah.
Any other questions that we want to deal with in the chat?
Converters, palladium used for catalytic. Yeah, it does have industrial uses. Why would the government waste money confiscating less than 1/4? By the way, I was readjusting my leg. I was pulling a leg up to sit on it. I wasn't. I just realized on the video I looked a little weird there.
All right. Oh, by the way, if anybody wants to, if anyone's interested in purchasing any of these crocheted, very feminine looking things, my girls made these, and they wanted to put them in the background. If anyone wants, you can contact me at endgameinvestor@gmail.com, and I don't know, we'll start some child labor. You'll enable me to enslave my kids, and it'll give me another. I'll break some child labor laws, and it'll be very vicious, I'm sure.
What would the people recognize as being capable of building and profiting from gold? Well, gold is, that's a big topic, and that's like what money is. I've covered that on my channel, the Bitter Draft, link in the description, the first 3 episodes. So I recommend watching that if you don't understand the topic here. I don't think we're going to cover that here, but money, the gold is the money. So that is its purpose. It is the medium of exchange. If you need to understand why that is, then watch my channel, because that's what I do. Let's see. Take a look at South Africa. It's Mad Max. Yep, that could be coming elsewhere.
Is South Africa really Mad Max?
There are Mad Max aspects to it. Yeah, there's a lot of crime and stuff going on in South Africa right now.
Yeah, that's not new.
Yeah. Well, it's significantly worse. There's like power outages and market breakdowns and things. Rafi Farber, why doesn't the U.S. government own precious metal mines? They might.
They might. Yeah, the Lannisters, right?
Yeah, they might. So why doesn't the government own mines? I guess they contract it out, or there's the federal land, and then they sell the rights to mine, but.
I don't, because they don't need to. They don't need it. They have the dollar. They have a printing press. They can extract gold value from the currency. What do they need to own a mine for?
The way the system works is that they must say if they outlawed gold and did all this stuff, then people would say, well, gold must have some value if they're acting like this, right? So to keep this Ponzi scheme going, they have to say, well, sure, you can hold gold if you want to, but it's just a doorstop. We don't use it anymore. So yeah, we don't care. Have all the gold you want. They have
So
to.
then, so if that's true, how did they sustain the period from 1934 to 1974? That was 40 years where people weren't allowed to own gold.
Yeah, well, but there was gold back. I mean, it was ostensibly gold backed and it's redeemable. Right. So that when they made it no longer gold backed, except in a hypothetical,
Oh, that's when they had to make gold legal, because otherwise the whole dollar would collapse completely.
Yeah. They have to maintain the connection, and they have to, because if they made gold illegal, then the present price of gold in dollar terms would be much, much higher, be $30,000-$40,000, right? Or something, right? If they made it illegal and punishable by 10 years in jail, then yeah, people still want to have gold, but it'll be like owning a kilo of Coke, right? Mm-hmm. It'll be a lot more valuable. Because gold is the price matrix, the present price of gold in dollar terms is what determines the present price of everything. So they have to keep gold disinterested.
It would be a great research project. Instead of looking at these charts and saying, oh, like look at the Venezuelan bolivar or something. And according to the exchange charts that I found on gold.org today, it takes, a million quadrillion bolivars to buy 1 ounce of gold. And then, oh, I did research because I looked at the chart. So somebody should call up somebody in Venezuela. If anybody has any connections to a hyperinflating country somewhere, Argentina, I could call someone in Argentina. I have some connections in Argentina. I'm going to do this. But we should find out how much you could get a house for. How many ounces of gold would it cost to get a house in one of these hyperinflating countries? For real. Not in a chart, but ask a guy, is somebody selling a house? How many ounces of gold do I have to give him to give it to me? That'd be fascinating.
Yeah. And imagine it wouldn't be very much either. Imagine it would go pretty far.
Yeah. So if what you're saying is if gold is outlawed, then the price of gold goes crazy in real purchasing power terms. That's true. So is gold even legal in Venezuela? I think it is.
Well, there's always legal, and then are people going to enforce it as well, right? There's plenty of things that are illegal that nobody enforces, and one of the things I'm thinking of is I think it's the law is fuzzy in America on whether you can buy things directly with gold or not, like currently. And I think a lot of it depends on states too. So I know in some of the Western states, you can definitely pay your taxes with gold and silver. I mean, nobody does it because of Gresham's law, but you can pay your taxes in gold and silver. You can exchange in gold and silver as long as both parties agree. But I don't know. I think in New York, it's not legal, like a state like New York. So you would have to obey the law, you would have to convert it into the hyperinflating currency, buy the house, and then the seller would have to convert it. There'll be some sort of a market will emerge, right? So you sell your gold to the real estate broker, and then the broker immediately sells the gold to the seller. So there's just going to be a middleman in there somewhere, unless gold is made completely illegal, in which case but
that's the counterintuitive. If gold is completely legal, then the only thing you can buy things with is gold.
Well, what I would say is, you sell it, you sell it for the wheelbarrow of paper currency that you sell the house for $5 worth of today's purchasing power in currency. And then you just, slide a gold coin across the table to the seller. And that's not listed on the charts, I mean,
we don't know how much this is actually happening. We don't know how much this is messing with prices or the official exchange rates because these things are happening and nobody's telling about, because if they do, they're going to die.
Yeah. So I don't, again, back to emergent order, I don't necessarily know how the market will respond and how the order will emerge, but I do know it will emerge because it must. That's one of the tenets of free market economics, is that order emerges. So I'm not worried that I'm not going to be able to transact with the precious metals. You might have to jump through, depending on where you are and what your situation is, you might have to jump through some hoops, but it's not going to be prohibited. It's not possible, right? It's like outlawing food and saying you can't live on, we're not going to eat food anymore. Well, then we're all going to die, and we're going to ignore that law.
Right. So one thing I want to end off on this. There was a question how to deploy your gold and silver, and I said first, do not put it in the safety deposit box of a commercial bank. Don't buy ETFs, or you can buy ETFs if you want to trade and try to make a dollar profit, fine, whatever, but don't expect them to help you in the end game. The other thing I will say is that I think one of the safest ways, the best ways to deploy your gold and silver is if you know in your local circles of a local farmer, or a carpenter, or someone with a small company who is in debt and struggling, and let's say he thinks, like, you have to trust these people, right? Don't just go to anyone. But if you have a friend who you've been trying to get into gold and silver and he just won't believe you, or doesn't have enough, and he's struggling, you can tell him that, I'll help you out with with real money when it comes to it. Just come to me first, and then I'll put you back on your feet. And then that's how you can control like entire pieces of capital while strengthening your inner circle of talented people. Let them know quietly on the low, that you have that they'll just like roll your eyes at you because they don't believe you anyway. But just tell them in a currency crisis, just come to me first, and I'll make sure you're okay. And then I'll buy what you need me to buy.
Yeah, quietly on the low, or make a YouTube channel about it. I mean, either way. So.
Yeah, I live in one of those paradoxes I can't really escape. But that's why I live in Israel, in the boondocks, and so I've reached out to the world, but I've also hidden in a corner. So if you have to come and get me, you won't be able to reach me.
Oh, I get good job. Real quick. So Joshua Collections, if that was true, Phil, though, I'm not sure if what was true, then how can you buy gold with Bitcoin? Same difference. Bitcoin is a dollar derivative. In the in-game, Bitcoin will fail you in the moment you most need it. I promise. It'll be the very moment when you're ready to cash in and get the house when it's gonna not get you a damn thing. So it is the ultimate of false prophets. Don't go down that road. Stick with God's money.
It doesn't mean zero out your Bitcoin. Maybe you'll speculate in it. Okay. Well, according to me, it doesn't mean zero it out. You don't have to sell it all. Keep a little bit if you want to speculate, but like don't rely on it. That's the problem. That's the point. Don't put your trust in it. Be very suspicious, at least.
Blaine in YouTube is a great way to keep secrets. Yes, that's Rafi and I. Rafi and I understand this better than just about anybody. I wanted to help humanity, and so I said I'm gonna do this as well. But I had to take extra precautions, which Rafi also knows about. Like, you have to, if you're gonna do this, you have to take even more precautions than a normal person. So.
All right, it's 5 o'clock. I know where my children are. And yeah, do you have any closing statements?
I do not. Oh, I do. Let me plug my channel. I never plug my channel, and I need to do that. I am the Bitter Draft on Rumble. Link will be in the description. Miss Libertarian was complaining to you, Rafi. You didn't put my link in the description last time.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll put it in. Yeah.
Description. Let's see. We do this every Sunday. I make a video once a week, usually on Tuesdays. I'm slacking a little bit these days. I'm going to try and get back into the rhythm of things. That's it for me.
Yeah, I watch Phil's channel whenever he comes out with one. I'm usually cooking dinner and I listen to it. It's good. He's entertaining, and his wife is good at design or sound or what is it?
Yeah, if you look at my old episodes, and then like after my wife was like, "No, Phil, you're doing a terrible job. Let me fix this for you." You can see like the quality went way up.
All right. Well,
all right.
Success with your channel. We'll see what happens this week. Reverse repos are falling fast. They'll fall even faster this week. They could zero out in a month. We'll see.
By the way, when the end game happens, I'm nuking my channel. So watch it while you can, because I don't need the world. I don't need the world to know about me after the end game starts.
Okay, everybody start downloading his videos so you can repost them when you mix it.
Well, I want to warn people now while you can do some good, but once gold becomes unobtainium and around 40, I'm like, there's no point, except hey, this guy's a lot of it.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. All right, have a good good morning, good day, good week.